Hi, I'm Gregg Corr, and I'm the Director of OSEP's Monitoring and State Improvement Planning Division. I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking to you about some of the work that we're engaged in around correctional education for youth with disabilities in juvenile and adult correctional facilities. As the Departments of Education and Justice stated in their December 2014 guidance, the fact that a student has been charged or convicted with a crime does not diminish his or her substantive rights or procedural safeguards and remedies provided under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act to students with disabilities and the parents of those students. We know that students with disabilities represent a large portion of students in correctional facilities, and it appears that not all students with disabilities are receiving the special education and related services to which they're entitled. National reports document that approximately 1/3 of students in juvenile facilities were receiving special education services, but that varied widely from state to state, as few as 9% in some states and as many as 78% in other jurisdictions. States reported in 2012-13 that of the 5.8 million students with disabilities served under IDEA, about 16,000 received special education and related services in correctional facilities. Evidence suggests that problems such as proper identification and the quality of educational services offered to students in these settings is often inadequate. There are a number of challenges, and I'm sure as a state director of special education or someone in the field that you're familiar with at least some of these. They include overcrowded facilities, frequent transfers in and out of facilities, lack of qualified teachers, inability to address gaps in students' education, and the lack of collaboration with LEAs and with other state agencies. Providing the students with disabilities in these facilities the free, appropriate public education to which they're entitled under IDEA should facilitate their successful re-entry into the school, the community, and home, enable them ultimately to lead successful adult lives. About a year ago, in December 2014, the Department of Education released the Correctional Education Guidance Package, which included a Dear Colleague letter addressing provisions of special education and related services to students with disabilities in correctional facilities, as well as civil rights protections for these students under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. To assist states in self-assessing their own systems for providing special education services in correctional facilities, we have developed a state correctional education self-assessment. The self-assessment will help states determine the extent to which their own systems comply with the requirements of IDEA and identify technical assistance needs of the state education agency and local education agencies. As we will be discussing in other sessions for this virtual leadership conference, we will be implementing a differentiated monitoring and support system beginning this winter. Using an organizational assessment, OSEP will assess state risk across three broad areas: compliance, results, and physical requirements. The organizational assessment will be used to help OSEP make decisions about the level and type of engagement for each state. We will be going into this in more detail in our presentation on differentiated monitoring. In addition to the three areas I just mentioned, compliance, results, and physical, OSEP will select a special focus area each year. As announced during the 2015 OSEP Leadership Conference, our first focus area will be dispute resolution. Last month, we shared our dispute resolution self-assessment designed to assist states in analyzing their own dispute resolution systems, including complaint systems, due process systems, and mediation. We plan to provide technical assistance and monitoring of state's dispute resolution systems over the next year. We have already decided that our next special focus area following dispute resolution will be correctional education for youth with disabilities in juvenile and adult facilities. Acting Secretary John King has included working toward education equity and excellence for all students as one of his 3 priorities. It's important that we place a special emphasis on those students who are furthest behind: low-income students, students of color, students with disabilities, and youth in correctional facilities, who all require more resources to catch up, succeed, and eventually close the achievement gap. Because of the importance of this issue, we are issuing the correctional education self-assessment now rather than waiting until we've completed the dispute resolution special focus area. This self-assessment is provided on the conference website. Completion of the self-assessment is voluntary, just as it is for the dispute resolution self-assessment. The state may choose to submit its completed self-assessment to OSEP for guidance or technical assistance, but that's entirely the state's decision. To submit a completed self-assessment to OSEP, please email it to your OSEP state lead. This tool is divided into 2 main parts. The first part includes questions addressing interagency and intra-agency agreements between SEAs and other public agencies involved in the provision of education and related services to students with disabilities in correctional facilities. The second part, which is the actual self-assessment, is designed to provide states with a tool which may be used to evaluate and track implementation progress of the state's correctional education system in relationship to IDEA requirements. So it's set up in such a way that you can determine the current status of your system and then check back in 6 months or a year to determine where you have made progress, particularly in areas where you've identified deficits. State directors of special education may find it helpful to collaborate with Elementary and Secondary Act Part D personnel, correctional education directors, and/or state commissioners of corrections as they work through the self-assessment. We intend to provide technical assistance to states in using the self-assessment and in this area in general throughout the year, beginning differentiated monitoring and support in 2016 and 17. We will keep you informed of our plans as they developed. Regardless of the structure in a state, the state, as the IDEA Part B grantee, has the ultimate responsibility for ensuring FAPE is made available to all eligible students in local and state juvenile and adult correctional facilities. This responsibility applies to correctional facilities with which the state contracts to provide education, including special education and related services. The IDEA Part B requirements apply to all political subdivisions of a state that provide special ed and related services, including state, local, juvenile, and adult correctional facilities. The Department of Education is committed to supporting all students in our nation's schools, including those who are in correctional facilities. We believe this is important to achieve positive educational outcomes. Ensuring that students in correctional facilities are receiving high-quality education will have a clear, positive effect in reducing recidivism and increasing post-release success in higher education, employment, and other life endeavors. Providing FAPE to students with disabilities in correctional facilities is not only required by law, it is critically important to ensuring successful outcomes. We hope that you will strongly consider using this self-assessment to help you determine where to direct your improvement efforts for incarcerated youth with disabilities.